Welcome to the Neural Implant Podcast, where we talk with the people behind the current events and breakthroughs in brain implants in an understandable way, helping bring together various fields involved in neuroprosthetics. Here is your host, Ladin Yuracek.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Neural Implant Podcast. Today's guest is Jon Sakai, and he is the Director of Commercialization at Cionic, which is a wearable neurostimulator which helps with mobility. And I had thought originally that it was only to do with foot drop, but that is one of your indications. But it's so much more than that. Jon, do you want to introduce yourself better than I just did?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Lad. I am an engineer by training, and I've worked in the med tech field for about 20 years. I have been in neurotech for most of that time as well. And so I transitioned between research, product development for several years, and then moved into the commercialization realm, working at Cleveland Clinic Innovations. And I really got the bug for helping to identify promising technologies, really figure out how to break down the commercial and business barriers to allow them to be successful. So I got my MBA through the School of Hard Knocks and learned a lot. And then 2 years ago, was invited to come over here to join Cionic.
Yeah, very cool. Definitely a varied career, and it seems like your skills are useful all over the place. Yeah, do you want to talk about Cionic, what it is and what's the intention for it?
Yeah, sure. Cionic has a product called the Neural Sleeve, and it has a great and important backstory in that the company was founded by Jeremiah Robison in 2018. And Jeremiah is a career entrepreneur and software engineer. And his career took a pivot when his daughter was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. And he decided to take his career expertise in software engineering and signal analysis. And he'd worked a lot in acquisition of medical signals, for example, with Jawbone, trying to make medical insights from that data. And his experience in both seeing his daughter be assessed in a gait lab, as well as try out some other commercially available FES technology, didn't understand why those couldn't be married into a single product. And so there, the need was born out and the initiative was started.
Yeah, very cool. It's always nice when you have such a deep reason why you're starting something, and it really gets you through those long nights when you're trying to figure things out. So it's much more than that, though. It's so basically a FES system. It stimulates the muscles, but there's also some algorithms that go behind it, and it can actually predict how you're walking and help you walk. How does that work?
Yeah, sure. This has been a safe and effective modality for decades. And the challenge in the technology has been really effective and eloquent support of gait. Gait's not a simple thing. And so we have sensors for both kinematics and EMG that can be combined and used to analyze and understand the gait. We collected a lot of data and used some machine learning algorithms to develop sophisticated triggers for gait for all four major muscle groups in the leg. And those can be applied as necessary based on the individual's gait deficit, and they can be used across a spectrum of neurological disorders.
Yeah, very cool. So how does this work? Is it basically put on the sleeve and then you can walk better? Or how does it, is there a learning process? Is there time for the algorithms to catch up with you? Is there some issues? Does it not work with all people and the stimulation, or do you have to get tuned somehow?
Yeah, sure. Once the product is deployed and you're using it, it's designed to be plug and play. If you haven't seen it, it's designed as a very fashionable, comfortable leg brace. Leg brace is the wrong word. A legging that looks like a running pant, essentially. So it's a beautiful design, and people can be comfortable wearing it all day. The algorithms are applied broadly among individuals with gait deficits. So there isn't any individualized training there that needs to happen. What needs to happen is identification of which muscle groups need support and have those turned on and programmed in intensity appropriately.
Okay. Yeah. So it seems pretty fast. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, it's like almost like one of those knee sleeves that you use if you messed up your knee and you put it around there. So it's nothing too crazy that people have ever seen before. It's not like you're wearing the braces. I've never actually seen the braces that are like outside of the mouth and all this kind of stuff for the teeth. But So a lot of TENS units, FES, require hydrogels and some kind of better connection with the muscles to better stimulate them and read from them. How would that work? Or do you guys use that as well? And how do you have gels inside of your leggings?
Yeah, so we do have hydrogel-based electrodes, and we have an array of electrodes for each muscle groups. And so we know that they have the same level of conductive properties and adhesive properties as has been used for many years. They are not embedded in the electrode, so they're user replaceable, so that they make contact with the sleeve. All the wiring is internal, and that the electrodes can be replaced as needed as they wear out or lose their efficacy.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Hey guys, just a quick pause to talk about our show sponsor, Iris Biomedical. Iris Biomedical provides a portfolio of neural sensing and simulation platforms and components to accelerate early-stage medical device companies through preclinical and early feasibility studies. Iris is an ideal partner for companies with limited budgets or resources to invest in developing a new platform from the ground up. Their experienced engineering team, in-house cleanroom facilities, and ISO 13485 certified quality management system allow for prototyping and early-stage commercial production. Be sure to tell them you heard about it on the Neural Implant Podcast. That'll really help us out. Thanks. Now, back to the show. Yeah, that's very cool. So what kind of improvement, like is there 10% improvement in gait, and what kind of user feedback have you guys had?
Yeah, as we have developed and studied the device, we have the best data on the impact on dorsiflexion. We did a study on that with a broad neurologically impaired population, and we saw that we were able to improve dorsiflexion and inversion in more than 90% of our participants. So we feel really strongly about our algorithms. We are seeing clinically great response to the algorithms for the other muscle groups that we've programmed for. And we are in the process of continuing to gather more kinematic and clinical data.
Yeah. Wow. 90%. That's not bad at all. That's very cool. Yeah, this is really cool. So what I heard, or like what I understood, it was that the device was more for foot drop, which is essentially what all the bad guys in Scooby-Doo have, right? Kind of dragging their foot oftentimes after a stroke. So you guys want to stop Scooby-Doo villains?
I am old enough to get the reference and realize that would be helpful, but foot drop is very common. It's a very common initial presentation from a stroke or MS, et cetera. And the challenge is that the individual really needs to accomplish clearing their foot or increasing their stride length. They need to improve their gait overall, and generating dorsiflexion is a common way through technology to do that. However, since we can activate all four muscle groups, we can do things like facilitate push-off and have their foot ready for clear prior to swing. We can generate knee flexion by activating the hamstrings, again, helping to pull the foot away from the ground. And so essentially we can accommodate for the deficit in a multidimensional way.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it's amazing how, it's predictive. And I was reading something like the algorithms know 0.1 seconds before you lift your foot that it's what you're going to do, right? So basically it knows what the result is going to be, or it knows the end of the story before you even start almost, right? It seems amazing. How's that possible?
Yeah, that's right. It's a benefit of gait being a cyclical activity, right? So you can recognize a pattern and prepare to respond to it before it's needed. And not only have we developed that, we've developed algorithms that can recognize context, sitting or going upstairs or going uphill. So those are slight modifications in gait, but we can continue to identify those and stimulate and respond appropriately.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. You guys recently got FDA approval, so congratulations on that. Maybe March or something like this. May is what I was seeing. What was that process like? Were you around for that, and how are things different now?
Yeah, that was a really fantastic process. So we applied for clearance, 510(k) clearance about this time last year, and had a smooth process for our clearance and working with the FDA. Since then, we've been laser focused on operationalizing production and more of our business model for deploying the product, which we are getting ready to ship here in the next couple of months.
Wow, that's incredible. And then you guys raised more funding, I think I saw 12 million. And how's that been? And what's that money going to be used for?
Yeah, so we're going to be focused on sales and deploying the product to customers and customer service as well. We know that the customers are dealing with a lot, and this may be a new type of technology for them. And so we don't want to be a company that's just selling something and then not providing support. So we really want to be partners with them. And we're building it into our business model and service model to be able to continue to connect with them so that they feel supported in their journey.
So it's not on the market yet, and this is going to be going to individuals. So you'll be able to buy this on Amazon, or is it going to clinics? Do you need special training to do this? And then, when is it going to be on the market as well?
Yeah, as a FDA cleared product, it does require a prescription. And our operational model is that after a prescription is received and their deficits are identified, we can ship directly to the customer. And we've built in a remote communication platform into our app so that we can work directly with the customer, show them how to configure the product based on their gait needs, and allow them to perform this remotely without the cost and inconvenience of accessing a clinic. And the other thing is that many individuals have either financially run out of ability to pay for therapy and are disconnected with the healthcare system, but they still need this type of support. And so through this model, we can hopefully break down that barrier to accessing this technology, and also maybe facilitating them getting back into working with a healthcare professional as they need, if there's like a rehabilitation application for them.
Yeah. And the app or the program could actually be doing that. It could be built into that probably, huh? Yeah. Okay. I want to shift over to you, maybe personally. I haven't really seen this before, like head of commercialization or director of commercialization. What does it mean and what's entailed in that? And then how does your experience as an engineer from before come into that? It seems more like a marketing role.
Yeah, with a small company, you wear a lot of hats with a single title, but I see my role and that of our commercialization team is to basically take a well-designed product that meets a known need and making it successful in the marketplace, no matter what that takes. So I contribute on the regulatory front, contribute on the reimbursement front, which is a huge component here. And on the marketing side, really building clinical relationships and partnership relationships so that we can be always engaged with our customer base, both individually and clinically. So really it's whatever it takes to get to market and make sure we sustain success.
So what does your day-to-day look like?
Day-to-day varies, which is why I absolutely love it. Some days I spend all day reading CMS regulations and the Code of Federal Regulations to figure out how to support our strategy. Yesterday, my colleague and I were at Cleveland Clinic Mellon Center doing a demo on a patient who was interested in the product, and getting to travel to conferences and centers and really working with patients is like absolutely delightful. I love it.
Yeah, that's really cool. And being able to give back a little bit to the community. And we actually met at the Cleveland Clinic Neurotech Entrepreneurs Workshop, and you were one of the mentors there. Not my mentor, but we did end up working with you. Our team did end up working with you, and we quote unquote licensed your technology for our pitch. And so that was a lot of fun. So yeah, what's in addition to giving back to the community, what's the reason that you participate in those kind of things?
Yeah, I'm really passionate about the aspect of one's career that's related to the relationships that you have. I've benefited so many times from people mentoring me or providing me with opportunities that were beyond just my education and applying for a job. So I think it's so important that we have personal relationships that transcend our professional relationships. And so I've always worked on initiatives that bring people together and can build a sense of trust. There's so many times in my career individually where I had a question that was a big challenge, but I knew a person who'd been through it and I could call confidential and get an answer very quickly. And so through that way, you can be more successful, and it's more rewarding when you have those relationships.
Yeah, definitely. My old roommate used to joke that a half-hour conversation can save you a year in the lab. Wait, no. It was supposed to be the other way around. It's funnier that way. But basically, yeah, like you can cut down a lot of time by just talking to somebody who's knowledgeable. So I definitely agree. And that's the point of the podcast as well, is not everybody can go to conferences or knows about the whole neurotech landscape and what's going on where. So this is a way to do that and open it up a little bit too. Yeah, this is pretty cool. So in terms of what's next for you guys, what's the next? You guys have been around for 4 years. What does the next 4 years look like?
In addition to focusing on just successfully accessing the market and making sure the product is a success. What we've done in a really important way is to design the system as a platform. So while we use sensing from kinematics and EMG and we deliver stimulation, we really have broad, customized platform, the ability to take any type of sensory input and deliver outputs in response to that. For example, we're working with organizations that are developing exoskeletons. So we may be taking a signal from a potentiometer and doing interpretation on joint angle and then delivering supportive stimulation or anything like, or communicating with another system completely. And so we recognize that as a startup company, we can't address every neurological issue. And so we want to focus on the ones that we're most interested in and are in our competency. So what we started to do is build partnerships with research organizations interested in other applications and support them in doing that so that we can facilitate their access by not having to invest in developing the technology or support them on the regulatory front, and that they can focus on accelerating a new indication.
Wow. So our licensing deal that we had done in our mock pitches is actually something that would have been realistic. That's funny.
100%. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think that's much better. And again, this goes back to what you're saying, this network and building off of other people, and it saves you many months and years and everything like this. So definitely seems to align well with what we've been talking about. Yeah, what are some big challenges that are facing you guys? Obviously finished the FDA approval, which is often seen as a big challenge, but what are some big challenges right now?
Right now, I'd say our challenges is focus is pivoting from a R&D based company into an operational company, which is culturally different, takes a different type of skill set. And we've been hiring a lot of people to help support that. So that will be a big level of growth for us. We face challenge like many startups in the area of reimbursement. So we're in a class of devices that has historically not been reimbursed. And so we're working very hard to design studies and interface with payers and CMS to make progress towards that, because we know that is a huge part of us being successful.
Yeah, that's a big thing. And then, yeah, for the reimbursement, it's not just one body that does this, it's multiple. So you have to convince many oftentimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. This is a fun question I like to ask sometimes. If you had unlimited funding, what would you do?
It's not a super fun answer, but I think honestly it would be do whatever we can to scale, because as we know in this industry, electrical stimulation in different forms has been around for decades and decades. And having individuals be able to access it either due to expertise and needing to work with like specialized centers or cost have just been a ceiling to it being adopted. And so with unlimited funds, I would like to help us scale, not just in the US, but globally. Because that's what we wanted to do, right? We want to make a huge impact on the field. And it's really a reason the way we design the product and our business model as well.
So essentially what you're doing now, because you're in this scale up, ramping up distribution side of things. So yeah, just more of that. So that's really cool. Okay. In terms of your career arc and what you've been doing, what's some advice that you have for somebody who might want to do it? Or would you say, don't do what I did. This is a bad idea. Or what's some advice you have?
I think careering is a great way to get into this field and to build your career for a couple of different reasons. And when I talk to a lot of people like in the program that you went through who are interested in entrepreneurship and that exciting element of getting the product on the market, and there is a ton of work that happens up front to make something successful, right? So innovation is a part of it and execution is a completely different part of it that's necessary. So I encourage a lot of people to do the journeyman's work of doing product development, of doing research, so that you can have a real appreciation for what we do in this industry. It's highly regulated. It needs to be approached in a specific way, and you get to touch the technology in a really important fundamental way as you progress. I think the other thing that I advise is to spend as much time as you can working with patients, either through research or even shadowing physicians, whatever the case may be, because there's nothing like getting an appreciation for a problem, like the acuity of a problem, when you just watch someone for 5 minutes struggle with something that's probably unimaginable if it's a condition that you're not familiar with. So incredibly motivating and transformative for your career.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of times the engineers get siloed into one side and they don't have any interaction with patients or even what's going on. And then any design improvements have to be funneled through or like through this game of telephone. So it's very difficult. So are you actually like going there and being by the bedside, and or what's the remedy for that?
Yeah, so I've been lucky in that I've worked for smaller organizations or worked really closely with clinicians so that it's been a part of every role that I've had. I think a big part of networking and mentoring is that some people have access to that and some people don't. And I've always found the medical community like incredibly welcoming, especially to engineers and technologists, bringing them in and understand what I'm going through. I think the other thing is that many people have a personal connection to an individual in their family or their life who has a condition, and understand that, and you can harness it to give yourself a lot of motivation. I learned a tremendous amount from my family dealing with my grandmother who had Parkinson's disease. I have a daughter who had epilepsy and gave me a just transformative view toward how that disease manifests and how it can be addressed. And that's driven me my whole career.
Wow. Yeah. So you're saying that even if you're maybe in a bigger company, corporation or something like this that doesn't really do this, you can still have the initiative to meet the patients and talk to the caregivers, and that it's probably not going to be a problem. That they're very welcoming.
Yeah, great leaders will always be welcome and identify the criticality of that. So it's a good sign that you're in a good position if that's offered to you. So pursue it. And because again, engineers can be siloed, and they do have very focused work to do. But remember to come out of your shell a little bit and pursue that, because it is going to be just so beneficial and make your work so much more rewarding.
And actually might mean that your work is actually successful or is aiming at the right target versus something that you just made up in your head. Yeah,
that's a great point, right? So you're in the neural implant podcast, and so your audience is developing technology that's going to be completely breakthrough and change the industry and patients' lives. But it's implantable technology, and you're working on years and years of time horizon. And in that regard, you're seeing your impact on patients in a big way can be delayed, but you can identify that in small ways. And you want to do that as you have to commit to all of this that happens around committing to large and long trials and the PMA process and all of that. It's a slog, but it's worth it. Remember, what you're really working on is helping patients, not just developing technology.
Yeah, for sure. And then, in that case, it goes back to the beginning of what we were talking about, is it's good to have a good why and something that will keep you going through, get you up out of bed, even if you don't feel like it. But Jon, this has been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed this. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I think that something that I did want to mention is there's multiple ways to interface with the nervous system, right? There's all this great work being done in the implantable realm, but we really feel like for mobility, this peripheral activation, sensing and activation is a really powerful way to have an impact. And so I think peripheral stimulation technologies are on the rise and are being more seen in market more and more. And so I'm really glad that we're a part of it. We'd love to engage with partners who are in the implantable space and just have the best impact as fast as we can.
Yeah, very cool. So people can reach out to you. Yeah, this is very cool. Thank you, Jon. This has been a pleasure.
Thanks for the invitation. Thanks for the opportunity, Loudon.
Hope you enjoyed the show and were able to learn something new, bringing together different fields in novel ways. Until next time on the Neural Implant Podcast.